everybody, so today we're going to make garden buddies, which are little clay bugs that will bring more color and life to our growing plants. This video is the first part of a two-part series. This video explains the supplies needed and how to make two different types of bees, while the second video explains how to make a butterfly and a caterpillar, as well as how to bake or cure the clay garden buddies. Now there are a few ways that you can make these garden buddies, but here are the supplies that I suggest. You can go to your local craft store or shop online for the following. So the most important supply for today is polymer clay, which you bake in the oven to cure or harden it. This makes it really resilient, especially for using in projects outside. You can pick whichever colors you would like for the project, considering there is going to be a bee, a butterfly, and a caterpillar. I selected yellow, green, red, a nice deep blue, some white, black, and also glow in the dark. So this will actually be really cool because it will pretty much charge, and then at night it will glow in the dark and you'll have a really cool bug glowing in your plants. In addition to the polymer clay, you're going to need flower wire, which we will be using pretty much as a seat for the bug. So the wire is going to be going in the bottom of each bug, and then the wire will be put into the soil so that the garden buddy can sit at the height of the plant. You want to make sure that you are mindful of the gauge or width of the wire you buy. The thinner the wire, the more flimsy it is, so it is important to purchase a thicker wire to support the weight of your garden buddy. And then of course, if you have flower wire, you can cut this with a sturdy pair of scissors, but I suggest going ahead and purchasing a wire cutter. This is also available in the craft section and it makes it super easy to do your projects. So there are some optional supplies as well. For instance, you can add beads to your project. You could add colorful ribbon to the clay as well, to the wings perhaps, or maybe even to the wire. You can also get some clay shaping and cutting tools to make the project a little easier. So this helps you obviously cut into the clay, create consistent lines and shapes throughout. And a final optional supply is translucent liquid clay, which you can use like glue that adheres through the baking process. Alright, so let's begin. I suggest putting a piece of parchment paper down on your surface so you don't make your surface messy and so that you don't get any dirt or dust on your clay. Likewise, wash your hands. I know that sounds silly, but one of the worst things when working with clay is taking time to build something really nice, only to realize that you had dirt or pen marks on your hands, and then it transfers to the clay. Ask me how I know. Okay, so I have opened my clay here. I've left the plastic underneath for now until I determine how much clay I'm going to use. You can see that it's segmented. This helps you pretty much break off the piece size that you want, which is very convenient. I'm going to move this to the side right now and see what I can build with this. The first thing we're going to be making is the bumblebee. Let's get started. So all I'm doing is I'm breaking up the clay into smaller, more manageable pieces. This is older clay that I've had in a container for a while, so if you find that your clay has been sitting around as well, you can always add baby oil to it, add a little bit at a time, and it makes it more manageable. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of knead this, loosen it up a little bit so it's easier to work with. Okay, so this is rather large at this point. I think I want this to be the wings. It's a little bit bigger than my thumb, so we're going to go ahead and break this into two and then start shaping it into wings. It's okay if it's not even, you can always fix that in a moment. So I like to think of it as almost like a teardrop shape. I'm just smoothing out the edges and trying to make it a consistent thickness throughout, because when it bakes, you don't want a super thin end and a super thick end because it's going to bake unevenly and possibly burn. Okay, we have one wing done. Let's go ahead and do another. So I always try to make a circle first because that seems to be a more manageable shape for me. And once I create that shape, I can go ahead and create the teardrop. If you make a V with your fingers together and kind of pinch down further, you can make that teardrop shape easily. And then you curve out the top. Okay, So currently I have 2 wings done. Ultimately, I need 2 more in the back and then to form the body in the middle. All right, so the wings are good to go now. So I'm gonna go ahead and use black clay to make a black body, and then I'll add some yellow stripes to part of the body. So we have the same situation here once again with the clay. You will see that it is divided or segmented, so you can easily snap off a piece. You do want to be careful with black clay though, because you can probably see already it is staining my fingers. So we're going to want the head of the body and then the back part of the body, which has the stinger. So a circle and then almost a teardrop shape again. So let's go ahead and put the black clay together. I'm going to go ahead and separate these. Let me explain to you how I made that circle. So just rubbing the clay in between my hands. Sometimes this makes more of an oval or instead of a circle, but you can flatten it out. So here is kind of more of an egg shape than a circle, so I just then flatten out by squeezing, so creating like a little base on either side of my finger, and then turning and flattening it. You will have flattened edges on the top and the bottom at that point, but then you just turn sides and you roll it out again. Right, that's definitely more of a circle. And then for the stinger, you're going to want slightly more clay than this part of the body. And depending on how you're putting weight on your hand, you could actually form the teardrop while you're rolling the clay back and forth. Put more weight towards one side and you will see that you'll get an almost teardrop shape. I'm going to shape this a little bit more to my liking. Doesn't really look like a bee yet. Let's just see how that's going to look. Good. And then you can be creative and consider how you want this to be situated. So if you do it at its side, you can go ahead and push in and then just drag part of the clay so you know that it's adhering properly. And then the same thing with the back. You want to drag part of the clay together. So the two slowly get fused together. This is standing on its own without my support. Now the good thing is, even if the bottom looks kind of sloppy, you're not going to be able to see this. There's going to be the wire hanging out from the bottom and it'll be perched in the plant. I'm going to fuse the rest of the wings like I just suggested. So I'm taking part of the clay and pushing it together. Yeah, his head is rolling away. Come back. Alright, perfect. And then I don't really like the way that that looks. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to grab a bead. So I took out a lot of options here. I'm trying to consider what looks best. That doesn't look too bad. Not quite. I don't really like that you can see where you can string the bead. So I'd rather have an edge than the center part. I like that because it seems to be consistent with the coloring and it reminds me of honey. So I'm going to go ahead and push that into the clay. It covers those kind of sloppy edges and it also makes it look really neat and gives it a unique look. So the final part of this, I'm actually going to add some yellow stripes so that it actually looks like a bee. So you can see that there's this black part of the body. I'm going to create some clay snakes and roll it underneath my hand here. So we're going to see if this is a good thickness. Bring our garden buddy back and see how that looks. Not too shabby. I'm going to make it slightly thinner just so it's not overwhelmed by these beautiful giant wings. And I'm going to make a long string of this, even though I don't need too much to fill up this back space. I want to have more just in case I mess up or if I need to add more lines elsewhere. Okay, and I'm just going to use my little cutting tool. Kind of looks like a pizza cutter, right? After I determine the length of the lines that I want. And once again, I would always add more because you can tuck it underneath where no one's going to see it, then have too little and need to make this again. So I'm going to say that that's probably good. I'm going to mark it right there. Good. Awesome. And then I'm gonna do, because the body gets a little bit bigger as it goes up, I think this would probably be the biggest piece. So I'm gonna use this as a point of reference. The other one's a little bit smaller. And lay these lines down. So all I'm doing is I'm putting it on top and I'm pushing down a little bit so it sticks to the other clay. Don't worry about the edges hanging off right now. We're gonna pick this up and then push it underneath. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pick him up and then flip him over so we can get the other lines done. There's an excess line here. I don't know if you can see some excess yellow snake, which we're gonna push over underneath the belly of the bug. And now for his little face. Right now there's nothing on it, so we're gonna get some white clay to make some eyes, get some more black so we can put the eyeballs on it. So I got my white clay, I broke it up into a very small piece because this is then gonna be separated into even smaller pieces to make 2 eyes. Those look about the same, so we'll add them to our little garden buddy. Once again, I'm just pressing the white clay into the clay that we already have here. And then I'm going to take some black to make the pupil of the eye. We're giving him human eyes, not bee eyes, but that's okay. That doesn't look bad. We'll keep that. There's the other. And now he can see. Pretty good. Right, I'm gonna say that this is good to go for our little bee. He looks cute. Obviously, he's not anatomically accurate. He's a nice little bee that looks like he has dragonfly wings. And then I thought, you know what, let me make something that looks a little bit better. And then I was like, you know what, let's just look online and see how other people's clay bees come out. And then I realized everyone's doing a yellow body and black stripes. Now, I'm not one necessarily to go with the crowd, but I'm guessing that it's probably smart if you use the yellow body and the black stripes. Now, we are going to start again. We're going to grab some yellow clay and we're going to see how this goes. So we're going to make this body into a teardrop, once again, because that is our favorite shape. And we're going to flatten one side. So this side is going to be where the stinger is. I'm just rounding the top of the body here. Just giving him some nice pats. Pat, 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 pat. Okay, we now have the body. I'm going to get some more yellow clay. And let's go ahead and make the head, which is going to be somewhat round-ish. Looks pretty good. I'm going to try squishing it together a little bit. We're going to lose part of the shape here, but don't worry, you can always fix it. And this is the part where I really like having tools. I'm not even going to use the arm for it. I'm just going to use the tip here because your fingers are really large, so it's difficult to maneuver smaller parts of the clay together, but this helps knead the clay together. So I'm going to go ahead and push the clay together here. So all I'm doing is just rolling this down, placing weight onto like the neck portion so it joins together. So we have our bee body here. I'm going to make its stripes now. We're going to take our black clay and we're going to try snaking it out. So I like laying it down, putting it underneath my fingers and rolling back and forth. And then as it elongates, I put my finger on one side to keep it together. And then I just go ahead and roll it out. And then I flip over because I don't want that side getting too thin yet. Keep my finger on this side and then I roll it out again. So we're going to wrap the snake string around the body so it creates like a spiral effect. And I suggest flipping over, whichever side you don't necessarily prefer, and starting the spiral on the bottom so that it is okay if it doesn't look entirely nice. So we're going to start the spiral. I'm actually going to start it right here. And then we're just going to wrap it around the body. Finish this up here. That'd be cute. We could put a little stinger. I cut off a little bit of the excess because, let's be real, the stinger doesn't have to be that long. It could be super short and it's still terrifying. And I grabbed the glow in the dark clay so I can make its wings glow. And this is a really good sign of good clay because look how easy it is to form compared to my other clay. So we're gonna make 2 wings, obviously not this big, but one here and then one here. And we're gonna put it in between these little lines here to help us out as a guide. The thinner you make it, the more flimsy it's gonna be. And also it may burn in baking because you have a thicker piece here. You could always make thinner pieces, bake them separately, and then glue them on if you would like. So that's an option, but I'm gonna go ahead and make this a little bit thicker. So here we are rounding out the top and flattening the bottom. And so we're gonna keep this as our point of reference so we can go ahead and make another wing. All right, these are about the same size, so we're gonna add them to the bee. Instead of having the wings all the way out here, because that's hard to keep sturdy, I'm gonna put about 1/4 of the wing onto the clay so it has more support. I'm using that tool to push the clay down. And then we're gonna do it exactly on the other side. Just making it a higher angle, literally just pushing it higher on this side, pushing it higher on that side. There we go. Okay, now to work on his beautiful face, which is currently a blank canvas. So many options. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my model that I made earlier and I'm going just to do the reverse. So black on the bottom and then a yellow eye. Let's see how that looks. Now, I suggest flattening the shape in your hand before you put it on, because if you try flattening it on the clay itself, you're going to end up messing with the shape of the clay that you have. Now, I'm trying to think of the shape of a bee's eye. They're kind of scary looking, intimidating. So we're going to do I guess, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, a teardrop shape again. How convenient. But this time it's going to be flatter, so let's actually make the teardrop first. Pretty good. Let's go ahead and make one more of these. So this guy is done. What we want to do, though, before we move forward, I want to add his little stem. This really depends on the height that you want your garden buddy to be flying above the soil. You should probably go out and measure your plants to see how tall the flowers are. You can always put the flower wire deeper into the soil, so I'd rather have a larger amount of wire than necessary. So we're going to do about 1 foot of wire and see how that goes. We want to find the center point of the bee to insert this flower wire. Right about here. I'm going to turn them upside down. Have a very quick operation. Now you need to be careful because you don't want to push through the clay piece all the way. You can also double wire it. So double up on the amount if you think that it's too thin. Go ahead, fold it over. And give it a quick twist. This makes it a little bit sturdier. I'm going to take my translucent liquid clay and I'm going to put it on the bottom of the bee. And because it's translucent, you don't have to worry. I mean, obviously you don't want to put too much on, but it will dry clear. Put it in the spot where I just made the hole. And I'm going to reinsert those wires. So let's just do some more surgery. He's good to go. Hi everybody, thank you so much for watching part 1 of this 2-part series. Currently, this bee is waiting on his other garden buddies, and you can see all of them together, as well as how to bake them properly in the next video. Please be sure to subscribe for future art, crafts, and DIY projects, and give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments, what type of videos would you like to see? Bye!